Hey guys, welcome along. Who's in the house? Got a couple of you in already. So, who's all ready for Halloween? Mrs. Kiwi's been at work, as you can see, to my right. Jackie Farley, hey man, how you doing? Josh Homan, how you doing, bud? Good to have you along. So, what's been happening, guys? What's been going on? What's new out there? Happy Halloween. Yes, thanks, Dickie. So, can you guys see our custom carved pumpkin going on in the background here? That's the one you got it, Dick. Well done. Mrs. Kiwi carved that herself. I just got home and here it was with the little candles in it and ready to go. So she did it especially for you guys. Unfinished project. Cheers, mate. Steve Sadusky, how you doing, bud? Old cars and music. Howdy all. Howdy to you, bud. What's under to be? Trick or treat, Kiwi. Hello. Pumpkin looks great. Well, thanks. 6th Street Garage. Welcome along. Roy Miller, how you doing? Oh, we've got a few of you guys here already. So, one little bit of news I got for you guys that you've been asking me about for the last probably 6 months or more is merchandise. We just basically signed on the dotted line today. We got t-shirts coming, we got beanies coming, and they're coming in the form of we're having a Marge sent me t-shirt done with a picture of the 59 wagon. And we've got a Super Kev t-shirt, which is basically Kev the Kiwi, this guy, and basically smoking his wheels. Like, it's kind of cool. It's a little bit different. So yeah, so that should be fun. They're probably going to be, we haven't got the final price yet, but it's going to be around $25 a shirt ish. And yeah, should be ready and heading out the door before Thanksgiving. So I think Kev is messing with that pumpkin. Yeah, I think he's a bit jealous, I think. Rich Discoveries, where'd you go? Hope everyone is having a great night. God bless. Yeah, same for you, bud. Dickie Farley. Do you like the movie Christine, Kiwi? Yeah, I love that movie. I've got it on DVD somewhere. Don't have a DVD player anymore, but I've got the DVD of it. It's an awesome movie. Love it. What am I drinking tonight? 6th Street Garage. This is a good buddy of mine, Tommy Boschers, gave me a bottle on Saturday night of Weller Black Label, like 12-year-old bourbon. And it's pretty darn nice. It's strong. It's pretty nice. Right, what else have we got? Bud D, your money light is on. Yeah, when you see that, it's usually expensive, isn't it? Cool store, 187, 1 p.m. in New Zealand, back to work. I'll put my earphones on and we'll enjoy. Well, yeah, good on you, mate. I'll do my best to be entertaining. 0% liberal. Warmest Halloween I've ever seen. There you go. Yeah, well, actually, it's pretty warm here too, to be fair, yeah. Dickie Farley, well, since you can't find your DVD, Christina's free on YouTube. I didn't know that. Just wanted to tell you and the people in the chat. Oh, I thank you. I didn't know that. I might just watch it again. It's it's an old movie, so the special effects aren't what they are today. It would be cool to see a remake of that movie with the latest AI technology, or CGI technology, I should say. Um, yeah, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, it probably won't happen. But Sixth Street Garage. Do you like rum? I used to drink rum a lot. Actually, that was my drink of choice. And then I don't know, just kind of started drinking a little bit of bourbon, and then started drinking a little bit more bourbon, and it kind of took over. Yeah, Kiwi UP tinkering. Your pumpkin's oil pressure is low. That's right, it is very low. There's no oil in it whatsoever. Um, I just noticed they all like pumpkin. That's great. I was just saying to the guy that Mrs. Kiwi did that. I got home today, and there it was. She had it all carved out, and she did an awesome job, I think. Um, did it for the show. She did it for you guys. So there you go. 7T2Z28. Christine has nothing on maximum overdrive. Okay, not really. Okay. Pops Mustang Shop. Happy Tuesday. Good to have you along, man. Steve Sadusky, they wore the t-shirts. I was just saying a minute ago. I'm not sure whether you weren't in here yet or not. I gave the green light to all the t-shirts today. I wanted to have something to tell you guys. So because you keep asking, you've been extraordinarily patient. But yeah, I've pulled the trigger. We're getting two different styles of t-shirts and some beanies with Kiwi Classics and Customs kind of on the band. And I'm open to suggestions on what else you guys would like. So yeah, t-shirts are going to be about 24, 25 bucks a piece. But they're nice quality. They're not just plain black with white writing on them. They are, one of them I think is 6 color. The one with we're going to have Marge on one of them, saying Marge sent me with a picture of the wagon, and that's like a 6 or 7 color print. So and they're good quality shirts, so they're going to be nice. I didn't want just cheap black t-shirts that are going to fade away, in 2 or 3 washes. So it's good stuff coming your way. It should be before Thanksgiving. Well, they promised it to me before Thanksgiving, by maybe the evening of Thanksgiving, but that's when they said it they'd be there. Dickie Farley. Actually, Kiwi, I heard in the last year or two they've really tried to get someone to remake Christine because of the modern effects, especially. Really? Well, that's interesting. I think it'd be a prime candidate for a remake. They could horrorize it up a little bit more. Give Christine a little more. Like a slightly more sinister part or something like that, and then the CGI would be awesome. Because it was the special effects were pretty good, but they were only good in their day, so still a good movie. Not sure what you mean, 772Z28. I just realised how you say your name, 72Z28. Oh, was that a dig? No, was that a dig? No, not me. I wouldn't be making a dig to anybody in particular, no. Don't care to. How's she going, Kiwi? Having a mixed maple whiskey with peanut butter whiskey on the rocks. Should be a diabetic by morning. Can't wait for the merch. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been asking long enough. It's and to say, hit me with suggestions on. I'm not sure whether to do sweatshirts or baseball caps or stickers. Seems to be a popular one. I haven't ordered any stickers, but I could easily add that to it. James Martin, no worries, Kiwi. Pee-wee's got you back. Yeah, Kiwi's making Pee-wee's making an appearance tonight. Fitzgeralding gave me that. It's kind of cool. A little creepy, but it is Halloween, so we thought we'd give him a little cameo on the Halloween edition. Tubi has Christine. They kill me. Yeah, don't. I hate ads now. Kind of gotten a bit spoiled. Like with YouTube, I don't get any ads because I pay the extra each month, but which is, I pay that through the business because of the YouTube channel. So like it's kind of painless. It's tax deductible. I get to watch YouTube with no ads, so it's quite cool. James, oh yeah, Peter's got you back. Yep, Dickie Farley. I finished the old Christine last night. Honestly, the car crushing and car coming unbent scenes are a little dated, but really good, and to me hold pretty good. Yeah, that's exactly how I see it, but too. Yeah, they are a little dated because they are. Gosh, when did that movie come out? A long time ago. So I actually read the book, Stephen King's book, Christine, and the book is extremely good. And you got to say it's better it's a pretty good movie, but the book is better because there's just so much more in it. And I think, if they did the remake, they could revisit the book and pull some stuff out of the book that wasn't in the original movie. Zolly's Auto Clinic. Howdy, bud. How's things been your way? I think I've been pretty good. Busy, just solid work. Struggling a little bit for video content because we just had several Mustangs through doing, brakes and cooling and just, more 65, 66 Mustang stuff that, there doesn't seem a lot of point in putting up my 10th brake upgrade video on a 66 Mustang. You guys have kind of seen it, so so it's kind of struggling a little bit for content. I've got a video coming on Marge. I did a bit of work on her at the weekend, so we've got a video coming on her. That's probably the next one out the door, and what do we got? Raider X 1983. Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. 72Z28 1983. So that's 40 years old. Really? Wow. 40 years old. Okay, I wouldn't have guessed 40 years old. But now that it had to be 1983, didn't it? Wow. That's crazy. Time flies, man. Time flies. Dickie Farley. Christine came out December 9th, 1983. I usually get that right because it's almost 84. Right. Steve Sadusky, Kiwi Customs and classic decals would be cool too for starters. I would just go with the t-shirts and hats first and see how it goes. Yeah, that was kind of my plan, and we'll just see how they sell. I mean, it's not, I'm not planning on getting rich out of it by any means, but it's just a little bit of, every little bit helps, and then we'll see what other ideas we can come up if those go well. Raider X, the movie was also a period piece, was supposed to be 78. Right. Yeah, well, Christine was an old, well, she was, what year was, Christine was a 57 Plymouth, wasn't she? So yeah, she was supposed to be 20 odd years old. That Plymouth was just a car when they made that movie. Yeah, that's another one of those movie cars that will be, forever famous. Not many people haven't heard of Christine. Like driving, like every time we stopped, which was a lot of times coming back from San Diego in March, there was always at least one person that said that looks like Christine. So yeah, and the ages varied quite a bit too. Not so much 20, like teens or 20s, but anyone, 30s and up, they all knew that car looked like Christine. Wayne Pirahi, Kiwi from Rotorua here, was watching Power Nation, and lo and behold, who pops up on the show a few years ago? That clip. Yeah, I've been on there a few times. Probably half a dozen times on there with the odd little guest spot. Yeah, and of course, I mean, they keep looping them, and rerunning them. So yeah, it's did a couple of spots on American Pickers too. Which every now and again I get an email from someone saying, "Hey, I just saw you on American Pickers," and that was like 7, 8, 9 years ago, something like that. So these shows just keep getting replayed. Yes, yeah. Somebody pointed out I was nowhere near as grey-haired in one of those appearances, but what you gonna do? I blame my wife for the grey hair. Zol's Auto Clinic. Zolly's Auto Clinic, sorry. Awesome. I've been playing around with 2 Chevy straight sixes I've picked up. One's a 194 and the other's a 250. Planning on putting the 194 in an S10. That's interesting. Yeah, that'd be an interesting option. A little bit different. So, how will that go for length? Because it's a fairly long motor, isn't it? Yeah, well, that'll be. I mean, Uncle Tony put a slant 6 in a Miata, so I'm sure you can get a straight 6 into an S10. Shouldn't be too hard. Mr. B, how you doing, bud? This old guy enjoys the thing I have forgotten. Thanks, Chris. Greg Sprung, my friend bought a lipstick on a pig. Told him it didn't look right. We couldn't lift it. Luckily, tis a skinny person. It just looked bad. It just looked bad bedline, BS, etc. Should be a law to ban this kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. People just get caught all the time. And there's some people out there doing some shady stuff. And, everything doesn't have to be concourse. Everything doesn't have to be perfection, but there's a line you cross when you're just bodging stuff up, and it's dangerous. That's there should be some laws in place about that. I agree. $72Z20A. When you get the Nightmare Butcher restorations, is there a model that is most common for you with the same desecrations done to it? Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's more I'm going to say Mustangs. I've seen the most horribly butchered Mustangs through the shop, but then, the highest percentage, of car that I get through is Mustang. I've seen some horribly butchered Chevys, Camaros. We had one that, a convertible Camaro, and they'd spray foamed up a lot of the structure in that, carved it, undercoated it, looked good. It wasn't. But yeah, I get a lot more Mustangs through than Camaro. So I don't know that there's a favorite car for these people that do that, but I would say Mustangs and Camaros would be top of the list. I've had Thunderbirds, old like was a 5567 Thunderbirds are very badly prone to rust, so they get bodged up, something terrible. Cardboard and the undercoated cardboard in the chassis and stuff like that. None of the cars are immune to it. That's for sure. Now, Dickie Farley. Okay, Dickie Farley. I looked it up because I didn't want to sound dumb, but I was pretty sure it was a 58 Fury. But when I watched a thing on the film, they used a lot of 57s. When I looked it up, that's what it said. Right. Okay. Yeah, not 100%. I can't tell you why I thought it was a 57. I just did. But Apparently, I think it is someone. Actually, the guy that had that 58 Suburban wagon that I went in, well, six or 8 months ago, I went and picked over his wagon, getting stuff for Marge. He was all about the Christines, and he had one, and he was saying it was a 57. And stuff like the grill badge, the little grill badge that's like yay big, that goes in the middle of a 57, apparently is worth a lot of money because you can't get them. And the reason it's worth more than any other model is because that was the model that Christine was. So at least that's what he told me. Which reminds me of something else. That same guy actually texted me today, and he's dismantled, parting out a 57 Chrysler New Yorker, which he has kindly offered to give me the electric front seat out of, which from all accounts should be the same front seat as Marge, because that 57, 8, 9 Plymouth was pretty darn similar. Other than the exterior body panels. So it looks like I'm going to be getting an electric seat, bench seat for Marge, which will be kind of cool. So yeah, you just never know what will come out of the blue, and I'll do a video on that because it's a super high spec car, but apparently it's in bad shape. But it had factory power steering, factory AC, factory power brakes, electric seats, electric windows. It's a 4-door like hardtop. It sounds like quite a cool car, so I'm going to do a video on that. We'll take a trip up there. I might see if I can coerce Stephen to come in with me, and we'll go up there and we'll pick over this 57 New Yorker and see what bits off that might just look more at home on Marge. I kind of wanted to have her, be the most luxurious 59 Plymouth wagon that anyone's ever seen, but we'll see. Solly's Auto Clinic. Length should be good. I'm using electric fans. Luckily, it's only an inch or two longer than the 4.3 with the front accessories on it. Okay. Still got to swap to a rear sump pan. Okay. Huh. Because the 4.3 was, what was the 4.3 was a V6, wasn't it? I'm not sure. See, I'm not that up on my Chevy, so especially that kind of era. Flacco the skinny kid. My stepdad used a hearse for his surveying work. The slogan on the side was "We bury our competition." That's funny. Good one. Well, that's a good story about a hearse. Awesome. Alan Trimble. Good evening, Kiwi. I assume you met Kevin Tetz when you guessed on one of the RTM Power Block Power Nation shows. Yes, I did. I met Kevin Tetz when I did they had a series, of relatively short-lived series called Search and Restore, which was kind of a spin on Chip Foose's show, that Overhauling, except they did it over 4 weeks, not 1 week. And it wasn't the car wasn't stolen or anything like that, or pretended to be stolen. It was just a car, person in their car that got chosen by RTM. And, they brought it in and went right through it, turned it into a hot rod. And yeah, I did 2 episodes on that show with Power Nation. And that was where I met Kevin Tate. So we've been, and that was 2012, I think it was. It could have even been 2011 when I first moved to Tennessee from Texas. What else have we got here? G'day, brotherhood and everyone. Granddad's Junk, welcome along. Good to have you here, bud. All Cars and Music, Soul's Auto Clinic. An S10 with a 194 would probably move out and stand a lot quicker than one with the 2.8 in it. Yeah, I would say so. Dean Stevenson, half a Kiwi plus half a Kiwi equals a full Kiwi. We're the pumpkin, that's right. We're the pumpkin. Granddad's junk. Yes, I've been meaning to reply to your email. That's just how insanely busy it's been. I've looked at the pictures. Yeah, they were good pictures, and that's just an insane car. It really is. That's a crazy car. Four turbos on a flathead. Just defies belief, really. But yeah, no, that looked like an awesome car. Greg Sprung, 59 Chrysler swivel seats. That would be cool. But man, swivel seats are like they're rare as rocking horse shit. They really are. And you've got to pay through the nose for those. Dean Stevenson, it's a 350 missing 2 cylinders. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yep. Dickie Farley, 43 is a V6. It has the same bell housing as a 350. Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay. They just literally lopped 2 cylinders off it, which makes sense. All the drawings were there. Cordell B. Ooh, we've got a tech question. When it comes to restoring old chrome pieces, can damage or pitting be repaired then re-chromed? Yes. The steel, the chrome steel is pretty easy to repair. Easy is a relative thing. It's easy compared to the cast stuff that suffers from the pitting, because one of the troubles with the pitting is, it's corrosion. The stuff's breaking down. It's just actually eating itself up. Like it's kind of a form of rust, and it eats down into the pot metal. And the only way to get rid of it is to actually kind of like use a little tiny die grinder, almost like a dentist, and actually buzz it out. But the only thing you can fill it with is chrome, and you've got to chrome it, polish it until, so you polish off. It's kind of like block sanding in a way, except you're using chrome. And that's why these cast pieces are so expensive to get redone. If they're in bad shape, they're so expensive, because it's just, you're trying to build up, you're trying to fill a little pit hole in a cast piece that's maybe a 1/16 of an inch deep, and you're doing it with, you're trying to fill it with 2 or 3 layers of chrome, then polish, and to build up a 1/16 of an inch in chrome just takes a huge amount of time. But to my knowledge, there's nothing they've come up with yet that will fill the pits in the pot metal stuff that's pitted. So other than chrome, just re-chroming it. So very expensive, but sometimes you just got to do it. Dean Stevenson, Chevrolet Liv from Ford. Dickie Farley, leave the parts out, make money. Not sure what that's about. Zol's Auto Clinic. Okay, whole cars and music. I'm sure it would have worked out on a few 2.8 S10s, and they were miserable. I'd like to stick this 250 with my Saginaw in one, and maybe my 194 with a Muncie in another to compare. Well, the 250 is going to be, that's quite a bit bigger than a 194. That's going to go better, I would have thought. Dean Stevenson, check oil pumpkin. That's what my wife says. Yep, that's what it is. Carved for you guys by Mrs. Kiwi. She did that today. Greg Sprung, copper layer, then nickel, and then lastly chrome. Okay, I haven't got that quite right then. So they build it up with the copper. That makes sense. It'll be a lot cheaper to keep plating it with copper and softer, and keep polishing the copper away. Volfly, I should try my hand at anodizing aluminum. Look, it's very, very hard to get anodizing done. There's really hardly anybody that does that anymore. I did a 64 Comet a few years back, and that had quite a lot of anodized aluminum on it. And I literally couldn't find anyone to do it. Not anybody. And we kind of just did our best with it. It wasn't in bad shape. The grill was the big one. It wasn't in too bad a shape. But it could have done with being re-anodized, but we couldn't find anyone to do it, and that was a few years ago. But yeah, because I don't think it's any harder particularly than chroming, but just very few people want it done. So like it's just kind of died a death. Mr. B here. What drives me nuts is some of the guys who purchase cars forget these are used cars. You have pointed out the shortcomings that guys forget what to look for. Will we see more of the wagon? Absolutely, yeah. No, I've got a video like in the GoPro now, just waiting to be for me to put it together and publish it. So yeah, that's probably, I think that'll be the next video coming out. So look out for that. Maybe tomorrow or Thursday. Greg sprung copper plate and sand, and then another copper plate, sand and buff, then nickel, then chrome. Yeah. I got myself a bit. It's been so long since I've even thought about doing that stuff. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking they did it with chrome, but that wouldn't make sense. They do it with copper because it's cheaper and softer to sand. Dickie Farley, a lot of S10 guys will bolt a small block 350 up to a stock 4.3 standard transmission, and it will run a little bit better because it's light duty, but with too much horsepower. S10 guys get them left and right. Yeah, the transmission doesn't suck up as much horsepower because it's not as beefy, but then it doesn't live as long either. The 6-cylinder C4s in the Ford range are kind of similar story. You can put a V8 in front of a 6-cylinder C4, and it'll go good for a short time. But yeah, they won't live. It's just too much power. Volfly, yeah, absolutely. I would say there is a market for custom anodizing, yeah. How big that market is, that's another question. But yeah, there would definitely be a market for it. Yeah. I know you can get what they call hard anodizing. That's something that they do, but that's more for, it's not like restoration work. It's for, some of the billet aluminum stuff that you see gets done in, some of these gold and blue and, some of these bright colors that they anodize them in, and that's called hard anodizing. And it is really quite hard. The kind of chrome look anodizing that a lot of these early 60s vehicles had was not particularly hard. It was it was anodizing, but it was not the same as hard anodizing. But yeah, I'm not super up with exactly the whys and wherefores of that. Dickie Farley, I got an 83 S10 with a 350 board over 30 over, run a turbo 350 with a shift cut. If not, I would like a Borg-Warner T10 or an old Muncie. Yeah, that'd be pretty lively. I've been thinking about getting a Ford Ranger and putting one of my spare Windsor motors in it, spare 289s that I got kicking around just to have a shop truck. I've been thinking about doing that, but I haven't got much further than thinking about it, really. I kind of get into work and start working, and then next thing I know, it's lunchtime, and then next thing I know, it's time to go home. So the days really are flying at the moment. Plus, I'm pushing a little bit harder at the moment because I'm heading out of the country on December the 12th, I think it is, back to New Zealand for 3 weeks. So I've got to get as much finished as I can get done by then, because people don't want to have their cars, particularly if it's the smaller jobs. I've got to make sure all that stuff's done and back with them, so they've got their cars over Christmas. So yeah, pushing a little harder than usual, which isn't leaving me a lot of spare time. But I'm going to have 3 weeks off, so can't complain. Dean Stevenson, I'd like to take one Essex 3.8 V6, add 2 cylinders, and use 60-degree crank pins, offset pins, then call it a 308 and beat all the Holden guys. Oh my God. I wonder where you were going with that. Um, yeah, that probably would beat all the Holden guys. But yeah, you've been thinking about that one a lot, haven't you, Bo? Sure, Greg sprung. When the seller won't you let you lift a car, run. Yeah, it's probably pretty good advice. Yeah, pretty good advice. Bish, thoughts on hopping up 390 FE versus a 460? Uh, okay, really, the 390s are not a bad engine. They're just not a great engine. I would definitely go with the 460. I think you're going to make better power out of it. The 390 is a very old designed engine. It's a very heavy engine. The aft it's not supported quite as well as the 460 with the heads and all that sort of stuff you can get for it, and they've got oiling issues and which can all be dealt with, but it's the old story. It's nothing money can't fix. The 460, in my opinion, is just, it had a better blueprint. When it was on the drawing board, it was a couple of decades later that it was on the drawing board, and they'd learnt a lot. The Ford engineers had learnt a lot. That's how all these engines have evolved over the years. And they'll build a new engine. They had this issue and that issue, and this worked really well, and this didn't work so well. And this is how we ended up with like the LS and the Coyote. That's all an evolution of those preceding engines. So the newer the engine, it's not a golden rule, but typically the newer engine, the better they are. It's usually a better engine. They've made a few cock-ups, and I don't mean just Ford. But yeah, short answer, I would go with the 460. You'll make more power, and it'll be cheaper, and it'll be a little bit lighter. Not a lot lighter, but a little bit lighter. Greg sprung hard anodizing airplane stuff. Okay. Volfly, the main issue with chroming, electroplating, and anodizing is waste disposal. Yeah. I imagine the EPA exacts a heavy toll, yes, especially on chromium compounds, which are particularly nasty. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. That's why, for me, like if I send a Mustang bumper off to advanced plating, it's about $1,500 to chrome a Mustang bumper. Or I can buy a new one out of China where they don't have an EPA and it's brand new chrome on it, and it's $150 for the bumper as well as the chrome. So yeah, but advanced plating are not. They are on the high end of with their price structure. They are, that's fair, and they're not. They don't apologise for that. The work they do is top notch. But yeah, a lot of that money that you pay for the chrome work done by them, or any chrome shop really, is paid to the government. By way of really all the restrictions, all the things they have to do. In China, they just pour all those chromium compounds out into the nearest river, and they don't care. Nobody cares over there. It's all about making a product for as cheap as possible, and people get sick, they don't care. If animals, wildlife get sick, they don't care. Greg sprung, CAD plating is gone. Okay. Granddad's joke. Bish, there was nothing wrong with the 390 were a popular engine. No, you're right. There's nothing wrong with them, but that was my. If I had to choose between the two, I'd go with the 460. So no, there's nothing wrong with the 390. If you push them hard for power, they have some shortcomings, some things that need to be addressed to help them live. With a good power output. I mean, that's why they came out with the side oiler, because they had oiling issue. Like way back, back in the mid 60s, they knew the FE had an oiling issue, which is why they came up with the side oiler. So yeah, But yeah, side order blocks are not something you'd really want to be trying to buy. Polaris 61, greetings from Sweden. Well, hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to have you along. That's awesome. I have a handful of, when you go into the analytics in the back of YouTube or the back of your channel, it shows where everybody, the different countries, where your viewers are, and yeah, there's a few, not a great deal, but there's a few from Sweden, which, given the language barrier and stuff, is like it's awesome. But I also know Sweden's pretty, they're pretty passionate about their big American cars. Like there's more there than most people realize. It's quite it has a strong, classic car culture over there in Sweden, I believe, and what I've read. I remember, the wife and I went to Europe a few years back, 2 or 3 years back, and I was grabbing up, the European car magazines when I could. A lot of them I couldn't read, but you can look at the pictures and see what's kind of going on, and it was really interesting. It was really interesting. Zolly's Auto Clinic. I'm wanting to run this Muncie Moroso. Morse. I can't read. Too many bourbons. I'm wanting to run this Muncie more so than the Saginaw, but I can't find replacement gears, so I'm just running what I got. Oh, fair enough. Well, that looked like it said Moroso, and I'm like, what? Yeah, Greg Sprung. Yes, file for 35 years plating, and EPA put us out of business. Oh, man. Well, yeah, I say you have all the answers for us on plating then, Greg, clearly. And I'm just putting my foot in my mouth. Dickie Farley, so you said Kiwi a C4 Ford transmission will take a Ford V8. What do they normally put them in? I'm not a big Ford guy, at least with newer Ford stuff. I like old Fords. Oh, fair enough. They usually, the C4, they had like the Mustangs and the Falcons and those cars that had the option of the 6-cylinder or the V8. The 6 cylinders had a C4, but it was a smaller, lighter duty C4. So it was just had a few less clutches in it. There's some differences in the bands and stuff, I believe, and the strength of some of the hard, componentry. And they were built that way just to drag less horsepower. So the 6-cylinder car would, go a little bit better and get a little bit better fuel economy. That was really the thing. You bought a 6-cylinder Falcon or a 6-cylinder Mustang to get good gas mileage. So they, that's why they lightened everything. Like all the suspension componentry is different on the 6-cylinder to the V8s. And they're like the tire ends and all that stuff are all smaller. All the suspension componentry, the spindles, the hubs, everything's smaller and lighter. The rear axle's a lot smaller and lighter. It's just enough for the 6-cylinder. And there was no point. Like I guess it might have saved them a little bit of money to just use all the V8 componentry and stick a 6-cylinder on it, but it would have killed the performance and the economy on the 6-cylinder. So they lightened everything up. So you could get that like 28 miles per gallon. That yellow Falcon of mine gets. I haven't done a really like a true mileage guess on it, but I would say it's getting towards 30 to the gallon. That old yellow Falcon I've got. And that's not trying to nurse it. That's just driving it to work and back. So I get on the throttle a bit sometimes. I've got to get try and overtake someone, or I'm late or whatever, or I just putt along. But it seems to be, I would say, close to 30 miles per gallon. Hang on a second here. What do we got here? Now, Rex Ferris, how should a fellow figure out whether to replace a gas tank or not? Well, really, you've got to try and look inside it. Like get the fuel sender unit out, or get the biggest. Look through the biggest access hole you've got. Look inside it and see how much rust is in there. And then the other, like a big deciding factor, is how expensive a replacement tank is. Because if they're not that expensive, um, then you save yourself a lot of heartache. A new tank is kind of nice to have. Like I've had to clean a few tanks out over the year that have been, had a lot of rust scale in them, and you do your level best to get them as good as you can. And then 50% of the time, the filters will block up, within a week and a half, because it's pulling out the scale that you didn't manage to get. So it can be. Yeah, if I can put a new tank in, I will 9 times out of 10, unless the tank's in really good shape. But some of them are just horrible, and like the tank and Marge. I think we were talking about this the other week. The tank and Marge, you can't buy them. You just can't buy them. And the one, there's the odd one comes up for sale, but they've usually got rust holes in them anyway. So you're not getting something that's better than what you got. So yeah, I had to repair the one in March because there was just no options. But even if it had been a $500 fuel tank, like I would have just dropped the money and got it, because that's. I finally got the tank sealed up now on March, and the damn sender unit is actually leaking a little bit out of the little the connection that comes through it in the middle of the sender unit that feeds the electric signal to the gauge. It's leaking around that now, so I've got to drop the tank again and pull that out and figure out how I'm going to stop that leaking. Yeah. What's on it to be? Make a Boss 460. Well, yes. Boss, wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's John Cossey. That's John Cossey territory, that one. Don't care too. Yes, we need decals, but with the exchange and shipping here, that T-shirt will be around 75. Yeah, really? 75? Wow. Yeah, well, the exchange rate's not good, is it? What's it, about 60 cents at the moment? You get about, which, to explain to the American viewers, that means like if you put down a New Zealand dollar, you'll get 60 cents American for it. So yeah, that makes $25 for a T-shirt, quite a bit more expensive, and then shipping, and they charge you GST, which is like a sales tax, and then they charge you for this and that and the other, and yeah, I can imagine it would get up to that. I'm hoping, I'm supposed to be getting the T-shirts by Thanksgiving, so I'm going to take as many as I can get with me to New Zealand. I'm just going to put them in the suitcase and run with it, and so that might be worth doing, and just ship them out from New Zealand, from within New Zealand, and that would make them a bit more affordable. So yeah, look out for that option. Greg Sprung, but the Chinese bumper is chrome on steel and flakes later to not a nickel coat before, right? Okay. All right. That's part of where that cost saving comes. They're just the chrome's direct on the steel. Interesting. Chrome has micro pores. Okay. There's this specific polish for chrome, isn't there? Because I've heard it is. Yeah, I've heard it's porous or micro pores. Yeah. Okay. So what, Greg? What do you, as a plater for years, what do you recommend as the best polish for your chrome work? Hence, when you see gold under an old bumper, that's nickel. Okay, I have seen that. Yeah, I've seen the chrome peeling, and there's kind of a coppery gold kind of look under there. Yep. Yeah, otherwise it flakes off like paint in a few years. Yeah, well, I've certainly seen. I've replaced a lot of Chinese Mustang bumpers. I have, not so much with flaking, but pitting, like small, corrosion dots breaking through. But yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for. Like $100, well, they were like 110 or something. I think they're around 150 for a bumper now. But considering you get the whole bumper as well, it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money, but it kind of frustrates me with the Chinese stuff. And it's not really fair to rag on the Chinese because it's the CJ Pony parts and the MPD. They want to bring the cheapest chrome parts to the marketplace that they can, so they can undersell the other guys that are also trying to sell the same thing. And instead of actually giving us the option and say, well, okay, here's the economy version, and for $400 you can have a really good chrome bumper for a Mustang. And I actually think they'd sell more good ones than what they think. I know I'd buy them, and I'd just tell my customer, this is what you need to have, unless or you can pay me to put another one on in 2 years. And then as soon as you do that, you've gone backwards. So I would definitely push. I always try and push, for the more, I was going to say more expensive, but for the better part, because it just pays off. The pain is a little worse, at the front end, but at the back end, is where you start to realize that what you paid was worth it. Bony Fingers 72302. I'm getting ready to replace the valve stem seals. Should I replace anything while the springs are on? Well, yeah, there's a few variables in that. Is it stock valve train? Is it just a stock 302, or are you, is it a high lift, big cam, that kind of thing? If it's a big cam, you should possibly think about springs. Keepers. Keepers don't last forever. The keepers do a lot of work, and they don't last forever. Especially if if you're messing around with high RPMs. Obviously, the higher RPM, the more it loads everything up. But typically, if it's a pretty mild or stock engine, I'd just put valve stem seals in it. Todd Denier, hey buddy, how you doing? You're late, but that's all right. You made it. It's all good. It's all good. Fly, someone needs to tell China to use copper plating before the chrome. Yeah, and they would. The Chinese don't care. Like they will sell us the CJ Pony parts, whatever they want. They will make it for them, and it's the people at this end that are asking them, for the cheapest possible version of whatever it is they're trying to buy instead of the best possible version. And it's kind of become ingrained in kind of people's psyche, like cheaper is better, and it's often it's not. So, but yeah, don't the Chinese will get, if CJ Pony Parts or whoever their importing division is, wherever they get it, I'm just using that because it's a well-known name. But if they if they went and said, we want a high quality reproduction part, and that can be a chrome bumper for a Camaro or a Mustang or a Chevelle or a Mopar or whatever. If the people that want to buy the stuff out of China go to them and say, we want a really like your top-notch version of this, the Chinese will go, sure, no problem. Or, whatever the Chinese version of that sentence is. They'll sell it however you want to buy it. And if you want to buy the cheapest, thinnest, nastiest version, they're quite happy to sell that to you. It's like, that's what you want, that's what we'll make, and that's what we'll sell you. But if you want something really good, they don't care. They just want to make a product that they can sell and get money for. So they'll make whatever product you want them to make. And unfortunately, they get asked a lot to produce cheap shit. Because, the big chain stores here, be it Jigs or Summit or MPD, or all these different ones. They're all looking to get the cheapest version of whatever it is, so they can be more competitive. But sometimes being competitive is about coming to market with a really good product, and having an excellent product can make you just as competitive, if not more. So that's how I look at it anyway. Bish, I was wondering if you had any insight to the Ford Dentside truck market. They're becoming quite expensive up north. I'd imagine they're still quite plentiful and affordable in the States. Yeah, they're certainly not as pricey as their Chevy. Excuse me, as their Chevy counterparts. You can pick them up quite a bit cheaper than the Chevys. Um, it's just how it is. Obviously, some people will say that's because the Chevy truck's better. Some people will say it's because the Chevy truck looks better. But I mean, the market dictates what something's worth, and you can pick up the Ford trucks relatively cheap. They're getting a little harder to find in good shape, because they're just getting older. Just like all of us. Like, we're all getting older, and we're all getting a little more tired looking, and a little bit saggier, and so we're all getting older. So yeah, it's getting a little bit harder to find good ones, but they're out there. Now, what do we got here? Greg Sprung. No, you'll find Kiwi. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, where were we? Now, I've lost where I was up to. Sorry, guys. There we go. Oh, back. I scrolled down too far. Mark Taylor. I watched a European YouTube creator singing the praises of the Crown Vic. Apparently, it's a popular car across the pond. Yeah. I saw. Yeah, I didn't think they'd be over there, but I've seen a couple of like you. I've seen a couple of videos lately with Crown Vics over there. I saw one that had a tank engine in it, in a Crown Vic, and they were doing all sorts of big, huge skids and burnouts, and some of those European boys are a bit crazy. I got to tell you. Bud D, who does wheel chroming? Yeah, that's a tough one. A lot of them won't do wheel chroming because they're often their two-piece wheels, or two pieces that have been welded together, and they can't get in and get the old chrome off and get the new chrome on and get it polished and have end up with a product that won't fail quickly. But Greg can probably back me up on that. I know I did a Buick Wildcat a few years back, and the guy that I was using to Dan's polishing, he was doing a lot of my chrome work. He didn't want to do the wheels until I actually showed him that the whole face. It showed him through photos. The whole face of the Buick wheel was one piece, a one-piece stamping, and then the back half of the wheel was welded to that. So they had one continuous, obviously shapes in it, one continuous surface that they could get through and polish and chrome that whole outside face. And they were like, okay, we can do that. But it was a slightly unusual wheel. It was kind of a little bit like the Mustang wheel, but it had this, the whole front face that you visually saw was one stamping. They just stamped it, and then they basically welded the inside edge of the rim on the back of it. So it was an interesting construction. It was a Buick thing. So I was able to get them re-chromed, but other than that, otherwise, if it hadn't been like that, they weren't interested. They were not going to do it, and it didn't matter. I said, well, but we really need them done. How much? And it's like, nah, we're not doing it. So, but until I showed him it was a single face wheel. Bish, yeah. If money was no object, I would get a John Cossey Boss 9. Yeah, it's just the meanest looking motor out. Like Yeah, it's probably the prettiest motor currently available, I would say. But I mean, that's subjective too. But yeah, it's a heck of a lot prettier than an LS or a Coyote. Like it's just a gorgeous looking motor. Max level. Hello, Kiwi. Would you coat a new tank before installing? No, I wouldn't. Not on a new tank. No. There is one of the tricks with keeping your tank good is to keep it full. If you're going to be parking it over winter, fill it right up, because that leaves less room for air. And the trouble with air is it has moisture in it. It has a water content to air, and that's what creates a lot of the rust. And there is Stable. I think it's called Stable. They have the Stable fuel stabilizer. That product now is they have a Stable 360. It's been around a little while now, but that has a chemical in it that actually helps to coat the inside of the tank where the fuel isn't. The original old Stable just treated the fuel and just the fuel, but the Stable 360 actually puts a chemical coating. I mean, it's a wash on, wash off coating, but it does protect the inside of the tank. It's not like a spray on or paint on. It's just a chemical that's in that additive, the Stable additive, and it reduces the rusting issues that the metal surfaces of the tank that aren't buried in fuel or covered by fuel. It protects those as well as the metal surfaces that are in the fuel. So I hope that makes sense. Todd Denio, C4 were found in most small and mid-sized Ford or Mercury that came with a 302 or 351 through the late 60s to the late 70s, unless the car came with an FMX transmission. Yeah. Well, the C4 was the smaller of the Ford transmissions, and then they had the 6-cylinder and the V8 C4, which were both called C4s, but were quite different transmissions. Yeah. Greg Sprung, the nickel defends the underlying steel. Interesting. Rex Ferris, I'm generally a Mopar guy, but Ford has me with the early Falcons. Those and some of the Galaxy, like my dad's, are in my top 3 favorite cars. Yeah. So how early on the Falcons? Like are you like the 60, 61, 2.3s or a little bit later than that? So I've got a 63 and a 66, so quite different cars. Dickie Farley, I remember your American Pickers episode. I always thought you looked familiar when you would come onto Tony's show. And then when you mentioned that one time, I was like, that's the guy. Yep, that was me. That was me. The guy with the funny accent. What you going to do? Yeah, that show, a lot of I've had a lot of comments from people that have seen me on like the RTM production stuff. But that American Pickers, that gets seen by a lot of people. Alan Shildroth. Happy Halloween. What is the ugliest hard car you have worked on? Ugliest and hardest. Oy. I'd have to say a Triumph 2000, which is an English car. Don't know whether they ever got any here in the States, which is lucky for them. But yeah, obviously it was an English built car. There was a lot of them through Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and all over the place. But They weren't the ugliest car ever, but you combine the lack of good looks with how hard they were to work on, they were just terrible to work on. And one thing that I always hated about the English cars was that they didn't, apparently the engineers that built most English cars didn't know how, or didn't know that you could tap a hole. You could drill a hole and you can tap a thread in it. Every fastener they had on all their cars was a nut and a bolt. So every bell housing bolt was a nut and a bolt, not a bolt with a threaded hole. So, everything you were undoing was two-handed. You had to reach on one side and, ratchet on the other. And it just made everything take twice as long. They were just a bear. And usually that nut, or at least, 70% of the time, you could get to the bolt, but trying to get to the nut and hold it was just impossible. And then trying to get it restarted again when you're trying to reassemble, trying to get somewhere. And they were just bloody awful. And that Triumph was one of the worst British ones that I've ever had to work on. Rex Farris, a friend of mine, has a 65 Falcon that she needs to get fixed after someone pulled out in front of her and stopped at highway speeds. Oh dear. Poor birdie has a giant V in her front, though the engine works. Ugh. Yeah. Well, hopefully she can get it fixed. Did it bend the rails, the chassis rails? I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff you can buy for those Falcons, the 65s. And there's quite a lot getting dismantled as well. Like you just go, I've been looking for like 64 5 Rancheros, and there's a lot of them out there and being dismantled. Dickie Farley, also your wife did a great job on the pumpkin. I think she did, huh? I think that's pretty cool. It's even doing a little flicker like your oil light does, when you don't want it to. It's kind of cool. I like it. All right, what else have we got? Todd Denio, Rex Ferris, have you seen the videos of a 64 Galaxy racing small cars in England? It's hilarious watching it overtaking the British cars. Yeah, it's hilarious watching them outbrake the thing too, and like getting back in the lead, of the Galaxy when the Galaxy can't slow down. So that makes for some really good racing, especially as the race gets older and the Galaxy's brakes start to go away and the Galaxy's tires start to go away. Whereas the little wee British cars just keep buzzing around like a swarm of bees, like, and they don't really slow down through the progression of the race. So but it is good racing. Vilefly introducing the silicon carbide enhanced paint job. It does the scratch. Oh jeez. Curtis Randolph, would you say the Mustangs are the most inexpensive car to restore based on parts being available and cheap? Yeah. Yep. And really next would be the Camaro. The Camaro stuff's pretty affordable too, but the Mustangs, not really. Price is typically driven by the number of parts they produce and the number they're going to sell. So the more they can make, the more front fenders they can sell, the cheaper they're going to be. The more rear quarters they can sell, the cheaper they're going to be. So they did make an awful lot of Mustangs, like a lot of Mustangs. So if you decide tomorrow you want to buy a Mustang, well, it'll take you 5 minutes to find, 10 for sale within a short drive of wherever you are. And then choose your color, choose your engine, there's Mustangs everywhere. So yeah, it does make them very cheap to restore. Parts wise, labor's no different. That's the trick. Whether you're restoring a Mopar, which is kind of the high end, a Chevy or a Ford, labor's doesn't change. So if you're having to pay someone to do it, if you've got to pay someone to restore your Mustang, like to just drive in and drive out and have it done, it's not cheap. It's just not cheap. The parts bill will be less than some other cars, but it's not going to be cheap. Pony fingers. We pay half price because we get half the part. Well, sadly, there's some truth to that, but there is some truth to that. Todd Denier, Kiwi, I'm feeling better than usual. Had a change in my pain med. Well, that's good, mate. It's good if you're feeling better. Yeah, that long-term pain can really get you down. I've kind of been down that road. I lost my bloody spot again. There we go. Greg Sprung, exactly, Kiwi. Look at new cars, cubic dollars, and we have junk new cars. Yeah. Yep. Mark Taylor, I sealed my 76 Jaguar XJ12 saddlebag gas tanks using a marine fuel tank epoxy sealer. I poured it in the tank and kept rolling the tank around until it was thoroughly coated inside. It worked. Yeah, those that sort of thing does definitely work. I'm just not sure that I'd do it on a new tank. I'm not sure whether the trouble with those epoxy sealers is that they too can fail. And if you've got a perfectly good tank, I'm just not sure that you would put something in there that could fail if you can't get it clean enough. I've been saying that a new tank should be pretty clean. So not sure, not something I've really ever given a lot of thought to. We just usually get a new tank and put it in. They do last a long time, but again, with the less you drive them, I'm running low on battery, guys. I forgot to plug my computer. Yeah, just bear with me for a second here. I'm just going to have to plug it in. It just flashed up at me. The battery's getting low. I'm not going far. Hang on, guys. Granddad's junk. Okay. My wife's a bit concerned about my ability to finish the wiring on a 54 custom line. It just needs all the lights and light actuators wired in. It has a new lumen all labeled. I quite enjoy electrical wiring. It can torment you. I'll be honest, it can, but it can be quite fun to do. Getting it looking really pretty and nice. The biggest hurdle I find for me and for most guys that I've talked to doing wiring, especially if they haven't done it very often, is looking at this massive pile of spaghetti and like, where do we start? Where do you start? There's just so many wires, and you've kind of got to not look at that big pile of spaghetti. I'm going to wire up the left front turn signal, and you find the left front turn signal wire, you run it, you take it down there, you get it connected, and then you do the right front turn signal, and then you just take little bite-sized pieces, and then eventually, you do enough bite-sized pieces, and you look back at the big pile of spaghetti, and it's like half the size it was, and it's like, oh, no, that doesn't look so scary anymore. So yeah, is you don't look at the big picture too much and get overfaced. Just chip away at it, and yeah, before you know it, there's not much left to do at all, and you're getting through it. Yeah. Ooh, granddad's junk and oxygen sensors done. Yeah, well, she's got oxygen sensors in her 54 custom line. You're very upmarket, aren't you, granddad's junk? You got a little bit high tech Porsche turbos and oxygen sensors on a 54 custom line. They didn't come out with oxygen sensors, you know that, don't you? I guess you must have injection on it. Good for you. Josh Homan, GM had money to burn in the 50s and 60s. They could afford to restyle each year. Yeah, well, they were all like that. The big three, they were all, new bodies every year. Every year. That was, there's not many other, like outside of the American models, that you could tell the exact year a car was made just by looking at the body shape. Because a 66 would be different than a 67, and a 7 from an 8. And like each year they were different. And it was pretty cool time to be around. But as you say, like lots of money to burn. They were selling a lot of cars, and they were relatively cheap to produce. Alan Shildroff, NPD, good, better, best clauses. Yeah, I have seen that a little bit, and I applaud them for that. Yeah, I like it when those online stores, give you that option. And it would be interesting to know, the stats on that and see what was selling better. The best or the good. Rock Auto do that too. A lot of their stuff they have different grades, and I actually like to see that. It at least gives you an option. You don't have to buy the cheapest shit. And I mean, I've bought the cheapest shit before when it's been applicable, or appropriate. Greg Sprung, no, they had workers. Yeah, people knew how to work a little bit harder back then, and they were a little bit more grateful for their jobs. Yeah, it was a better time, I think, certainly in the motor industry. But I think, the people were a little bit more appreciative to have a job, and were quite prepared to work hard to keep it. It's salmon dinner night. Melted the brown sugar glaze with the old propane torch. Oh my goodness. Well, as long as you didn't use MAP gas, that might have just actually incinerated it. But I can just see that breaking out the big funny propane torch to do that. Good grief. That's funny. Todd denying chroming wheels requires special heat treating to prevent carbon embrittlement. Okay. Don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about that. Fish Geraldine, back in 2000. How you doing, buddy? You see old Pee-wee's here with us tonight? Back in 2000, I took the bumpers from my 69 Dart to a chrome shop in Tampa, triple plated over copper, 750, turned out beautiful and lasted. Yeah. 750 back in 2000 was a chunk of change. Yeah, that was a chunk of change. Good on you. You paid the money, and you were happy with the job. They were beautiful. That's kind of the mentality that Needs to be kind of readopted a little more, I think. Now, where are we up to here? Stray Bullet, 333.93. Stray Bullet, how you doing, mate? Yeah, I was on American Pickers twice. When they first got it, I think it was a 37 International truck, a dark green one, and Mike Wolf brought it in, and so there was a little bit on the show there, and then a few episodes later, it was him picking it up, running and working and looking a whole lot better. We didn't restore it because you can imagine Mike Wolf doesn't want anything restored. But the thing was, there was a green truck that was horribly oxidized. The paint was like super chalky, so we managed to bring it back up to to its kind of blackboard green. It was very whitish, almost whitish green, and it was actually meant to be like a blackboard green underneath all that oxidization. And we got the motor running and got the brakes running or fixed. That was a bit of a not a nightmare. That's not fair. It was a procedure because nobody had wheel cylinders for 37 Internationals, and we had to send them to a place. I can't remember where it was now, where you sent the old wheel cylinders and master cylinder to them. They bored them out and then pressed stainless steel sleeves into them, so you could then go back to the original size pistons and cups, the rubber seals and stuff like that, and actually rebuild them. And it was expensive. It was expensive because it was extremely labor intensive, compared to buying a $24 Mustang wheel cylinder. These were, if I remember rightly, it was for the master cylinder and the 4-wheel cylinder, it was like $1,000, and that was 8-9 years ago. So yeah, it was expensive. Even Mike Wolf kind of swallowed a bit hard on that one. It's like, really? Whoa, and I was dumb enough back then to not even mark the parts up. I just gave them everything at cost, which I wouldn't do that today, but it's a different story. Bish, have you had any experience with Tremec transmission? If so, what's your verdict with them? Yep, had done a lot of Tremec swaps. I think they're very good transmissions. They can be a little prone to leaking out the rear seal. I've had to replace a couple of the very rear seal on them. And some, like 6 months old. Not all of them, but a little. If that's the only issue I've ever had with them, was the rear seal on a few of them was just not sealing. But other than that, super strong gearbox, super reliable, strong. Like I've got the T56 Magnum in my Mustang, which is rated at 700 foot-pounds of torque, and my engine's 750. And I've been hard on it. I've been hard on it, and I've not been able to hurt it, not been able to break it. I had a couple of clutch issues in the early days, but that's not the transmission, that's the clutch. Because the clutch was having a bit of trouble keeping up. And we've got a twin plate in it now. The single plate just wasn't cutting it. Hang on, let's scroll down a bit here. Rex Ferris, my favourite Fords are probably the 61, 62s. Oh, damn it. Does that? This damn thing, like you click it to scroll down a couple of times and it goes all the way to the bottom. I was like, wow, you guys are asking lots of questions. No, gone too far. Here we are. Largely from watching the Andy Griffith show. Yeah, I remember that. We had the Andy Griffith show in New Zealand when I was a kid. So, yeah, world famous, that show. Greg Sprung. She needs to do a traction control off. Yes, I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. I'm going to talk to her about that when this live winds up. Yeah, I think she needs to do exactly that. That's funny. Dickie Farley, do you know Triumph didn't start out British? Actually, it was a German company that, if I got my time right, was acquired in World War II. I know for sure a German bicycle in World War II, it's a German Triumph. I did not know that. No, I did not know that. Huh. B-Body Garage. Hi, Kiwi. Can you paint over chrome bumpers? If so, what is the procedure? No, you can't. Well, I wouldn't advise it. You can sand the chrome, like DA it, and then use an etch primer on it. What you can do, though, most of the chrome shops, they can basically reverse the process where they'll take the chrome off for you, and you get back to, I can't remember what's left, what gets left on it, but that's really the more correct way to do it, is to actually get them de-chromed. As I say, you can sand them and use a strong etch primer, which will key in. The hardest problem is getting anything to stick to chrome, because it's so hard and shiny and smooth. Nothing wants to stick to it, and it won't. There's not a chemical that really wants to eat into it unless you sand it first. And even then, that's not really the right way to do it. But you can get away with it. How long it'll last is probably hard to say. Now, old cars and music. Todd Denio, are you talking about the Goodwood races? I think he is. I mean, obviously, God, Todd knows what he's talking about, but I would say that's what he's talking about. Yeah. That's an event I desperately want to go to. It's on my bucket list of shit to do before I die. Is go to that Goodwood thing, Festival of Speed. It looks like just an absolutely fabulous week of all kinds of events. And there's a lot of it on YouTube. If you're looking for something to watch, you don't have to be a motorsport nut. That it's just good TV, shall we say? Anything to do with Goodwood. They have a great kids soapbox, not soapbox, like pedal car race, and they get into it. Like the kids are into it, and they're just, they have a Le Mans start. They run over and jump into the pedal car, and they're off and they're pedaling like hell. And if they can win it, it's a big deal. And it's just, you wouldn't want to watch it every Saturday or Sunday or whatever. But it's fun just to watch them and see how much the kids are getting into it. And their parents are there, and it looks to be a great atmosphere. I would love to go. Rex Ferris, it was actually my friend's accident that convinced me that Falcons and her are indestructible. Even with all the damage, barring some bodywork, the car just needs a new radiator and bumper. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And she walked away with just a sprained ankle. Well, there you go. That's pretty good. Like those older cars. And I'm not ragging on Fords. Yeah, but any of the old cars, they didn't have a lot of safety built into them. They certainly had no crumple zones or anything like that. They weren't typically particularly kind on the occupants. The cars were pretty strong and solid, and they stood up to a fair old crash, but the people inside didn't always fare quite so well. So, yeah, she did well. Andy Nickel, late again. That's all right, man. What's happening tonight? Oh, we're just same old, talking shit. Been a lot of talk about chroming, and Greg Sprung's been a fountain of knowledge on that. But he was electroplating for, I think he said, 35 years. So there's anything you're unsure about chroming, just read back up the comments. Greg's shared a huge amount of knowledge with us tonight, which is great. The dude just got some great news. The 57 will run tomorrow. Awesome. That's great. That's cool. It's always, that's always a big step, and it's a big hurdle to get over when you get them to fire up. It's like, yes, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Andy Nickel, how many bourbons before carving the pumpkin? You have to ask Mrs. Kiwi that. She did that today. I came home and there it was. And she did it for you guys for the show tonight. So she saw it somewhere. She saw some pictures of it and went out and got herself a pumpkin and carved it out and said, "Here you go." And I'm like, "That's freaking awesome." So yeah, I really quite like it. It's kind of neat. I'm not sure how many of the neighbourhood kids are going to understand it on Thursday night, but maybe a few of the dads will get it, and that'll be cool. Garth Harris, how do you rate the pricing increase of A bodies like 64 to 66 Barracuda? I love the show. Well, thanks, Garth. Well, it's kind of a little bit of a case of every dog has its day. The 64 to 66 Barracuda is, in my opinion, is not the prettiest car ever. It's not the prettiest. 67 Barracuda was just a way better looking car, in my opinion. So I hope that doesn't, I hope there's nobody listening that gets butthurt about that. That's just my opinion. But the pricing does kind of seem to back that up a little bit. They're not worth the money that the 67, 68, and then obviously you get into 70 Barracuda and stuff like that, and the price goes ballistic. So yeah, I think every dog had its day, and they're starting to, they're starting to get some of the love and respect that they deserve. The 64 to 66 Barracuda, they're a neat car, I don't know whether you saw. I did a video. Probably, I'm going to guess it at somewhere 9 to 12 to 14 months ago, somewhere around there. It was a little while ago now. A really, really nice 66 Barracuda, I think it was, a dark green one, 273 S code, 4-speed, really, really nice car. It was a fun little car to drive. And the guy sold it. I think he got, memory serves me right, he got about 18 grand for it, which is a bit less than he wanted, but that he put it up on that Bring a Trailer auctions, and it was kind of cool. The guy that bought it saw my video of that car, because we went right through it, put it on the rack, and I kind of critiqued the car on what it was. At that point, I wasn't inspecting it for anyone. I wasn't trying to make an ad for it or promote it or do anything like that. It was just, here's the car. This is what we got today, and this is what it's like. This is its issues, and this is what's awesome. And we just went through the video, and he watched that video, which the seller had put a link to on his Bring a Trailer auction site. And the guy said, "I watched the video, and that sold me on the car, and I bought it." And he came by the shop with and got a photo with me and stuff, and he was all about it. It was kind of a neat kind of loop where we did this video, and I think it was, I know it was genuine, but I think it came across as being very genuine because it wasn't a video that some car dealer shot trying to tell you how wonderful it was. It was just an honest appraisal of a really nice car that happened to come through my shop. So that worked out well for everybody. The guy who bought it knew exactly what he was getting. The guy who owned it, sold it, got a decent price for it. He wanted, I think, quite a lot more than that, but it was a little optimistic. But I think he was basing his prices on the little bit later model Barracudas, and it doesn't cross, unfortunately, the values. The values are the values. They don't, because a 69 is worth this, it doesn't mean a 64 is worth exactly that. Very different cars. Todd Denio, Kiwi, yeah, chronic pain sucks. 17 out of 23 spinal discs are shot and makes walking difficult and also causing heart trouble. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. 17 out of 23. Good Lord. Yeah, mate. Sorry to hear that. That's got to be awful. Yeah, bourbon's not going to fix that. Yeah, I know. I had a lot of pain with my knees after my accident, but thankfully that's 90% gone now. So, yeah, that would be brutal. Neighbour Cruz, Kiwi, what do you think about the 87 Buick Grand National as a car? I think it's an awesome car, and certainly went through a period where it was severely underrated, and only really appreciated by that select handful of kind of Buick Grand National nutters that are out there. And I call them nutters with full respect and affection, but the guys that are into those Grand Nationals are like seriously into them. They're kind of it's almost more so than the Mopar guys. But they're great cars and they're good people, and they're seriously fast car. And there's quite a bit of the background story with the GM, and GM were angry at Buick because they were building a car that was quicker than the Corvette, and they got told to stop building. And apparently, the quote was, "Stop building those damn black cars you're building." There was quite a lot of internal politics within GM going on because of the Buick Grand Nationals, because it was so fast. I think they're a great car. I'd own one if one ever crossed my path that was, a really nice one. It's not something that I've ever stumbled on. I think they're great. Todd Denio, Granddad's junk on the wiring. Take your time and recheck everything as you go. Good advice. Good advice. Take your time. Yeah, don't stress it. Fish Geraldine did some new struts on my Lexus today. Pain in the ass. Next job, new steering rack bushing. Oh, that's going to be worse. That's going to be a bitch to do. No, I bet you're not looking forward to it. That rack's well hidden. Rack is well hidden. But dude, is this a pre-recorded stream? No, it is not a pre-recorded stream. You're live, my friend. You are live. Although I'm probably a few minutes behind on your question, but I'm catching up slowly. We've got quite a bit of questions and comments going tonight. I'm actually having a bit of trouble keeping up. Barry Cooter, I remember a young panel beater workmate struggling to get the wheel nuts loosened on a Triumph 2000. He was, he was getting very frustrated until I suggested they might be left-hand threaded. Yeah, well, there's been a lot of wheel studs on Mopars broken like that. Like old Marge has got left-hand threads on one side. That's not, that a few cars did that, and that's tripped a lot of people up over the years. Yeah. Granddad's junk. I'm not very upmarket. My stuff is old. She just loves the 54. It's got falling suspension, brand new mags, tyres, 5-speed manual. Yeah. Well, it's a shame you're down the South Island. I would love to have called by and kind of had a look at your toy box. But yeah, I'm just not going to have time to get down your way. The dude who might, yeah, I'm a few questions. I'm just catching up now, mate. That's why it's a little bit out of sync. Um, yeah, a few paragraphs behind. Okay, the dude. I'm not sure whether you're talking to me when you're saying that or not, or what you're referring to. All right, oh well, sounds like the dude's checked out, but never mind. You can't please all the people all the time. Todd and I are Kiwi. When chrome wheels aren't properly heat treated, they will crack and break going down the road. Really? Huh. Okay. It's the first I've heard of that, man. But that's a little concerning because, like that Buick, we re-chromed the wheels on that. Hmm. Okay. That's interesting stuff. Maybe that's also part of the reason I couldn't get anyone to chrome them. But I thought it was more about the design of the shape and profile and trying to get the chrome in where there's any welded areas. Um, so maybe there's a bit more to it than that by the sound of it. Mark Taylor, the bottom 2 inches of my Jaguar tanks were weeping through several pinholes. The marine epoxy sealer did the trick and saved the cost of new tanks. It was a win for me this time. Yeah, well, that's possibly something like that. Is possibly what I should have done with Marge, but I ended up like welding it up, and that was to some degree because every time I repaired one little hole, it would I'd put some fuel in it and it would reveal another one, and I ended up going from one little tiny, we cleaned it out, put it in, filled it up with fuel, and by the time we got a full tank in it, that gave it enough pressure or head, and it started dripping out of one little point, and so we took it out, fixed that, and then that heating, cooling, then triggered a couple more, and we fixed those, and so I ended up chasing my tail to probably 12 or 15 little pinholes ended up getting fixed, and then finally we caught up with it. Greg Sprung, hydrogen in brittlement. Wow. Okay. The dude, anybody here play Roblox? I don't know what Roblox is, mate, to be honest with you. Hang on. Okay, the dude, I'm looking to start a new Minecraft clan if anyone is interested in joining me. Yeah, no. Never been a gamer, just not me. I mean, not knocking it. My boy is heavily into it. But yeah, it's not a thing that floats my boat. But that's okay. That doesn't mean it's bad. I'm not knocking you, dude. The dude. That's just not for me. Volfly. Okay, time to put the ducks and chickens up. All right. See you later, man. Granddad's junk. What is zero in Fahrenheit? What is zero Fahrenheit in Celsius? That's a good question. I think it's somewhere around 17, 18, like minus 17 or 18 degrees. No, maybe not that much. No, I'm guessing. I don't know. I'd have to Google it. Alan Shildroth, trying to scare you now. Found you a real ugly one, 71 Triumph TR6. Base model, 42,000 miles, 1995. Oh, I do like the TR6. The Triumph 2000s were just dog ugly, but the TR6 was a pretty cool looking little car. No, I mustn't. Greg Sprung, mate. Yeah, you're most welcome. Decades in the industry. That's what teachers I've had a few people say, "How do you know all this stuff?" And the answer is like yours: decades in the industry. If that's what you do all the time, and you stick with it, eventually you do start to learn a bit. You do start to get better at it, and you do start to actually have a reasonable knowledge of what the hell it is you're working on. So yeah, decades in the industry, that'll do it, man. What's on it to be? Yeah, Kiwi, the 59 Impala versus the 2013 version was very eye-opening. Yeah, I saw that video, and it was yeah, that does tell you a story. Yeah, they were not kind on the occupants. But yeah, but I mean, they were still learning, and they were, yeah, they were. The cars were getting faster. People were driving faster. You know, I mean, a 59 Impala compared to, well, you can't really. 49 Chevys was kind of almost post-war, but if you go back, 20 years before the 59 Impala, the cars were just slow. So yeah, the cars were going way faster. They were hitting each other harder, and they were starting to realise, geez, we're starting to kill our consumer. Stray bullet, thank you, Mrs. Kiwi. I will be sure and pass that along to her. Barracuda, I've sanded in each prime chrome bumpers. It lasted very well. Just be thorough with prep. Yeah. As I said, it does work. It's not technically the best way to do it, but it works. Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And dechroming them is not a free process. Like you got to take it to a chrome shop to even find one that wants to do it. So yeah. Stray bullet. Do they celebrate Halloween in New Zealand? Yes, it's growing. When I left in 2008, it was becoming a little, starting to get a little bit more mainstream. You were starting to see more of it in the shops and stuff like that, and you were getting a few kids coming around on Halloween evening. Like trying to get candy and stuff like that. It was just starting to kind of take off. And what it's like there today, really, I'm not sure. I imagine they've caught up fully by now, and Halloween's. I mean, you've only got to, talk to kids about candy, and like they're all about it. So I suspect it's fairly well celebrated now, but it was getting that way in 2008. And let's be honest, that was, how long ago is that? 15 years ago? Yeah, 15, 16 years ago. So yeah. Mark Taylor, look at that. Computers. You can get advice on anything on this show, from computers to cars. Okay, I'll try that. If you're using a mouse, I'm using my little pad on the laptop, and just clicking on the little down arrow at the side. But the down arrow on your keyboard is not actually moving it. I don't know why. So that doesn't work. I'm clicking on the little arrow at the bottom of the sidebar, the very sidebar on the right, which takes it down, about one comment at a time. But if you hit it like 4 times in a row, like tap, 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 it just goes boom all the way to the bottom. And it's like, shit. Fitzgeralding, etch primer converts the surface of steel, forming the molecules into peak and valley configuration. Unfortunately, it won't do that with chrome. Yeah, that's why you got to sand it. It won't. If you put etch primer straight on chrome, it doesn't really work. But if you sand it as well, that gives you your valley, the peak and valley that you're talking about. Fitzgeralding, he's a painter. He's been a painter for decades, so he knows what he's talking about. Rex Farris, I like old cars, but I'll never have any doubts that they are less safe. Yeah, you can't beat, like 6 airbags and ABS and crumple zones, and the modern cars are safer. It just is. It's just a fact of life. Do they stand up as well in a crash? No, probably not. But the occupants do. And what are we trying to save here? The occupants or the car? These days, we focus a little more on saving the occupants than the car itself. Um, yeah, Todd Denio, Granddad's drunk. Most of us Americans only use Fahrenheit for temperatures. Yeah, yep, it's true. I've converted to Fahrenheit. I used to only work in Celsius when I lived in New Zealand and first got here, and then I've slowly gone to Fahrenheit. Now I know how, if someone says it's 65 degrees outside or 75 or 85, I know how hot that is. Do I need to wear shorts or do I need to wear a jacket? And the Celsius is gone. Like I don't really remember. Like if someone says it's 10 degrees Celsius, it's like, well, is that cold or is that hot? Like, well, not hot, but how cold is 10 degrees? Yeah, I've just forgotten now. So, Barracuda Halloween wasn't a thing in New Zealand until '89. Okay, why '89? That seems a very specific year. Did something happen in '89? Granddad's junk. Oh yeah, where I live, the coldest day gets to 0. Yeah, New Zealand's fairly mild temperatured, really, until you get very long way south. Alan Shildroff, painting chrome seems to chip quick. Yeah, that the reason it chips quickly is because it doesn't stick very well. That's why it chips easy. Stray bullet, no free candy. Oh, you get free candy in New Zealand now, but you didn't used to. Sorry, just getting messages pop up on my phone. Mopar Nut 62. My 74 Charger has painted chrome bumpers. I shaved the bumper bolts, used etched and hot rod black urethane. It has held up well. Yeah. Yeah, certainly not trying to say that it's a terrible thing to do. But yeah, it's if you're so disposed to get them dechrome, that's the way to go. I've actually taken like 40 grit disc and ground the chrome off. I did that on my Mustang because I had like zero budget, to do that, and I wanted to cut up the bumper because you can't weld like chrome. If you try and weld a chrome bumper, it's a bitch to weld because the chrome messes up the weld. So I actually just, because I had like, as I say, zero budget when I first started building my Mustang. I just got in there with the 40 grit disc, flap disc, and just ground the chrome off. Yes, I wore a mask because that chromium is not real good for you. And just ground it all off, and which left a very rough finish, but it's paint primer stuck to it. There was no problem with adhesion because you got 40 grit sandy marks in it. But yeah, that was that's an hour of my life I'll never get back. Grinding that shit off. Yeah, let's scroll down a bit here. Mopar Nut 62. They should make. I just did it again. Clicked it one too many times. Yeah, sorry, we go. Mopar Nut. Yeah, they should make bumper raw for those who want to customize their own one without the chrome. Now, some vehicles you can get, like I know some of the trucks, you can buy the bumpers painted and you can buy them chromed, depending what you want. So that is an option on a handful of vehicles, but probably not Mopars. Alan Shildroth, gabapentin. Yeah, I was on gabapentin for a while. That kind of fuzzes your brain up a little bit, gabapentin. I got off that. I think it affects different people different ways as well. Uh, Granddad's John Kiwi, it would be nice to meet you, but that's okay. Yeah, maybe one day, man. You never know. You never know. Greg Sprung, glad for the Tuesday live. Just gave advice on plating when needed. Hydrogen embrittlement. Yeah, no, I'm really glad you chimed in as much as you did. Traction control off on the pumpkin. Yep. Todd Donayo, Alan Shook. Gabapentin does nothing for my pain. Someone hydrocodone. Arthritis sucks. I contend with it as well. I went to the Mayo Clinic, best in the nation. They said I'm shit out of luck. Oh, mate, I'm really sorry to hear that. Hydrocodone on a long-term basis, that has its problems as well. So yeah, you have my sympathies, man. I was on hydrocodone for a while. That shit's addictive. I was lucky it didn't get me. I was just lucky. But that that can be very hard to get off of hydrocodone. Well, we're starting to run out of time, guys. We're at an hour and 56. It's 4 minutes to 9. So yeah, another 2 hours just disappeared. Stray bullet. The TR6 had those 15-inch rim that made the cars look mean. Yeah, they were just a well-balanced look. As you say, the 15-inch wheels made quite a difference to them. Pretty little car. And if I cross paths with the right one, I could well own one of those. You'd have to hot rod it, LS or small block Ford, something like that. But get the thing up and going. But that'd be a fun little car. Greg Sprung. You only learn by screwing up of sorts. Yep. Nobody walks out the gate as an expert. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, man. Craig Nearing, you got here late. You did get here late, mate. We've got about like 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go. What's on to be? Another cool car similar to the GNs and GNXs, the 89 Turbo Trans Am. I want one of those. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool too. It would be pretty cool too. Andy Nickel. I lost interest in Halloween when it became more about grown-ups dressing up and getting drunk. Well, I did a little bit last Saturday night. We went to a Halloween party and got a little drunk, dressed up. I went as Beetlejuice. I was full on, the full wig, makeup, the whole 9 yards. The suit, the striped suit, the whole thing. It was fun. We had a blast. Mike Batista, Kiwi will put a forward block in a TR6. Absolutely. Absolutely, I will. And I won't even feel bad about it. Now, what do we got? Clayton's toolbox. I need to cut the wheel wells on my Pinto to fit 28-inch slicks. It might look odd unless I add a small fender flare or a lip. I already marked it, but hesitated to cut yet. Any tips? Any tips? Yeah. 28-inch slicks. I would assume you're talking diameter on a Pinto. Yeah, you're probably going to have to stretch the wheel arches. You may even have to stretch them front to back. 28 inches is relatively tall on a Pinto. Any tips? Honestly, about the tip I would give you is if you go on like eBay, there's a couple of companies making pre-made steel fender flares, just little. How do I explain it like this? It's like an additional wheel arch, and they're pre-stamped. You can bolt them on, um, and they're quite nicely made. And they're like $200 or 200 and something for a set of four. And basically, you can hack out the old wheel arch, weld it together, and then screw these or bolt them on, or even weld them on. This new, complete replacement lip or little fender flare. Um, and that makes making those from scratch is pretty labor intensive. I would look on eBay and look up steel fender flares. If that's, you might have to mess around with the terminology a little bit, but there's a couple of companies I've used them once before. We did a Toyota Supra, and we needed to put, flare out the rear wheel arches for these super wide tires he put on it, and we got a set of those, and it actually, they were cheap, and it looked pretty good. It really did look pretty good. Polarido. Okay. What brought me to the USA? Mate, I was able to get green cards through what they call the green card lottery. So getting into the States legally is pretty difficult, through the correct channels. But that green card lottery gave you a green card. And so it's like, let's go. We were lucky enough to win that. So headed to sold up everything and headed stateside. It's like, we just kind of threw all the chips in and took a punt, and arrived in America with like 2 suitcases each, and that was it. And had some money. I'm not saying we came here broke, but bought an RV, bought a big truck, 2500 Ram. Toured around America till we found somewhere we liked, and settled down. That's the very, because we're 2 minutes over time already. That's the very quick version of it. Yeah. Barracuda 89, because I've been in Australia for a couple of years prior. I'd never heard of it in New Zealand until I came back in 89. That's your approach. Oh, fair enough. I get it. Okay. That makes sense. Granddad's junk. I was on morphine for a while. Now I use medical cannabis to help with the sleep. Yeah, well, that can be a big help for sure. Todd deny. I don't let the pain stop me from still doing things. It just takes me a lot longer. That's the spirit, man. That's the spirit. I mean, I'm a little bit like that with my knees. I can't get up and down as quick as I used to. But you just got to get on with it. You try not to let it define you. You can still do what you did. You just can't do it quite as quick. But it's okay. Right. Yes. Craig Near, Rex Ferris, good night. Yep, it is time to go, guys. We've run over time. I've run out of bourbon, or close enough. So, thanks for coming in. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks, for you guys for chiming in with all the information we've all shared. It's good for everyone. I hope you all had a good time. I know I did. So, I will be... I'm going to try and post up some pictures of the merchandise that's coming. Just kind of give you a little teaser. And so that'll be hopefully in the coming week. And then, Thanksgiving, we should have T-shirts for you to buy. So, hopefully they sell well. And in the meantime, keep working on your cars, keep driving them, have fun, and look after each other, guys. You have a good one, and I will see you here next Tuesday. Take it easy, guys. Thanks again.